everyone, welcome to Two Car Pros. My name is Ryan and today I'm going to show you how to put a mass airflow sensor in a 2005 Kia Sportage V6. This is pretty simple and straightforward. I believe you only need one socket to do it, a 10mm, and it's going to save you all kinds of money, which I will go over at the end of this video. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started by removing the negative battery terminal cable. So a really important part of this repair is to undo your negative battery terminal cable, so that way the computer doesn't get overvolted or messed with in any sort of way, because it'll be off. So we're going to grab a 10mm socket and ratchet and loosen that up. You could also use a wrench. Just make sure when you're actuating your wrench you don't accidentally gap between the negative and positive. That would be bad. You actually have a chance of blowing up the battery if you do that, and the tool will become extraordinarily hot. So we can go ahead and push that aside, up and away, so that way it doesn't accidentally touch while we're working. So this is where your mass airflow sensor lives, just behind the air filter. And it is plugged in and it has a little safety on there, so we're going to remove that first. So you're going to get your thumb, push it in just like that. That's going to retract the little safety pins. You can see it become unsafe and able to be removed. So you just wiggle it back and forth while pushing on that little bar. Comes right off. Next thing we need to do is remove this body clip. You can just fold the tangs in on the back side. Just like that. Set that aside. Next thing we're going to do is grab our old friend 10mm ratchet or wrench and loosen these hose clamps here. And loosen this one too. Now we can massage our boot off of there. Just like that. Our hose clamps loose, we can go ahead and remove our boot just like that. Now, one thing I want to say is you might want to stuff some shop towels or something in here. Just be really careful not to get anything on the intake side here for the throttle body. So now we can remove our mass airflow sensor. So here's our old mass airflow sensor. You can see it way down in there, little metal tang piece sticking out. Some people say that you can use some carburetor spray on there and clean it off, and maybe you can get them to work. In my experience, it is like way better to just buy a new one. I have this one by Delphi. Here's our part number, link down below in the description. They're not very expensive, and you're ensuring that it works because it's new. We can remove that. And then we want to match them up, make sure that they're identical, which they are. The plugs are the same, the body and general construction is the same. The only thing we have to do is transfer this boot to the here. So we can do that now. So it's a lot nicer actually. Ooh, got stuck on there. So this boot is on here pretty good. What I found works pretty well is that if you just grab a small standard screwdriver and force it behind, it'll kind of break the seal that's been on here for 15 years. So it's it can be a little tricky, but you don't want to just wrench and tear it, because if this has a hole, have a leak. And the air that is not being accounted for will get into your engine and make it run crudely, which you don't want. So we took it off of the front side of it, so we can just replace that just like that. Put our hose clamp back on. So I'm going to leave this kind of loose so I can twist it around and get it just right when it's in the car, but tight enough so it doesn't fall off. So we can remove this and we're ready to go back to the car. Now we can replace our mass airflow sensor exactly how we removed it, making sure that's firmly in its home. Bend this boot down, slide that over the air box. There we go. That's a good idea to leave these hose clamps a little loose so you have some play here. There we go. Grab our 10mm socket with our ratchet, snug these up, clock that just like that. There we go. We can snug these hose clamps up. They don't need to be Hulk tight or anything, just, you know, snug. Snug's good. And then go around and make sure that all of the boots are on correctly and they're not folded in or something. Just make sure these are nice and snug. There we go. And now we can plug our mass airflow sensor back in very easily. You just push straight down, make sure it's on correctly with that bar facing out. And that is good. And then we can also put this body clip back into its home. It just pushes back into place to keep the wire nice and tidy. So now we can reattach our negative battery terminal cable. And before we just lasso it on there, we're gonna touch to make sure there's no sparks. And then put that back in its home, grab our 10mm wrench or socket. We can just tighten this bad boy back up. There we go. So I have a pretty high-end scanner here. You could also use a cheaper scanner, like a $20 one on Amazon or something, because we want to check and make sure that code is gone. Make sure we did our job right. So again, I have this fancy pants scanner. You could use a basic scanner and do exactly what I'm doing. This one's neat because you can read the VIN number and it knows exactly what car it's going to be diagnosing. So we can double check that it is correct. An 06 2.7 liter Kia Sportage, that's what it is. So we're gonna click auto scan. It's gonna scan through the entire can, which includes the engine, which includes our mass airflow sensor. So we can see that it actually has a code for airbag and tire pressure monitoring system while it's scanning. So if that mass airflow sensor code was still active, right here under engine, it wouldn't say pass no fault. It would actually have a fault and it would list what it is when you select it on it. On more basic scanners, you don't have to do this giant song and dance in order to get to this page, which is trouble toads are not detected. So what happened is we started the car and the computer realized, hey, this mass airflow sensor is working properly, and that code was corrected. So that's pretty cool. So you don't actually need a scanner to do this job, but it's a good idea to double check it, especially if the check engine light's still on. Our check engine light actually turned off by itself. So I bought that Delphi mass airflow sensor off the internet for $82.79. Now, if you were to take that to the dealer, they're gonna charge you parts and labor. How much labor? They get to charge you 0.4 of an hour, which at a dealer's rate, that's about $100 an hour to keep the math simple. Sometimes it's more, a lot more, and sometimes it's a little bit less, but 100 is a good average. So they're gonna charge you $40 of labor, and personally, I don't think that was $40 worth of work. That was very, very easy and something that anybody could do. Now the parts is where they really get you. According to All Data, they can charge you $411.93 for that part that I bought for $82. That really seems like a ripoff to me. It actually seems quite a bit high. So, I mean, you can give them 450 bucks to put a mass airflow sensor in, or you can spend $82 and a little bit of your time and save quite a bit of money. So that's something to think about. Thank you so very much for watching. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you next time.